Hi, everybody. Welcome to Capital to the Coast BNI. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a local small business success story from one of our BNI chapters, anywhere from the Triangle in Raleigh to the coast in Wilmington. And if you're not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Between both regions, from the Triangle to the coast, we have 41 chapters. And each week we meet with each other and help each other grow our business. Our local small business success story this week is Hilary Mayo with First Citizens Bank. Hilary is a member of GVO1, the Power East Networking Professionals Group. They meet Wednesdays at 8 a.m. at Hooker Memorial Church in Greenville. So if you live in the Greenville area and you want to meet a group of very professional, very personable business folks, you want to meet them Wednesdays at 8 a.m. at Hooker Memorial Church in Greenville. Hilary, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you on the show. First of all, happy belated Mother's Day.
Thank you.
I hope you were spoiled yesterday to no end.
I was. I
Good.
was.
Good. Because I've told people for years, mothers are the toughest and the strongest people on the planet. I don't know what other group of people could even make an argument. So, uh,
I appreciate that.
because you put up with husbands,
Hmm.
spouses, kids,
Yep.
work. You're the last line of defense on the to-do list or errand running or planning and stuff.
The
So,
school event,
yeah.
the grocery, yes, the meals, all of it. Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you were spoiled yesterday. All right. So Hillary is the financial services manager at First Citizens Bank. And if you're not familiar with BNI, we are seat specific. So Hillary basically has the banking seat.
Hmm.
And Hillary, you work commercial and residential folks.
Yes.
Okay.
So retail, consumer, and business banking as well.
Do you,
So business owners and individuals.
do you have a preference of one over the other?
No, well, so the meat of it really is, I think when I get to work with small businesses, every business has an owner. Those owners also have individual lives, and so that's really where a lot of it bleeds over. And so, if I had to draw a line in the sand and pick one, our business owners.
I always like to meet people in certain industries and find out if there's a connection from either the parents or the grandparents. Do you have somebody that was in the financial world that kind of got you interested in this?
No, I will tell you when I think back to it. So last week, or 2 weeks ago now, time flies. I helped out with Grow Local program here in the community, and I went to the middle schools and high schools and taught a class on careers in banking. And I started telling this story how there was when I was in elementary school, that our local bank set up a table, and they opened us an account. They taught us how to fill out, deposit slips, how to balance our, little savings account. And if you had a deposit to make, you got to leave class in the morning, walk down the hall, go to the bank, make your deposit. And I dug through my mom's change purse to find a penny, a nickel, whatever it was, so that I could go make my deposit. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So when I reflect back to that, it was honestly probably that local bank
Mm.
setting up that table in the hallway of my elementary school.
Did this kind of start your entrepreneurial spirit, understanding the value of money and wanting to make money?
Yeah. Yep. And so I had, growing up, my dad was in the forestry industry and he had his own business. And so, talking about strong mothers, my mom worked for him, balanced all the books, the household, all of that whatnot. And so part of me really just grew up, not necessarily in the financial industry, but, you know, in the home of a small business owner.
Mm. Now, growing up, what kind of side jobs, odd jobs, or working jobs did you do through junior high and high school?
So it really was a lot of babysitting, lifeguarding,
Mm.
um, waiting tables. Just the normal. I think things that you would think about for a young girl to do.
And did you, deposit some of the money and spend some of the money?
Absolutely. I absolutely did. It was the coolest thing ever when you have your own money.
Mhm.
And then it's not so much the coolest when you see how quickly things start to go back out.
But you're right, though, it is kinda nice to know if you've got, $200 in the bank and you're 16 years old and you wanna buy something and you go to your parents, "Mom, Dad, I'd like to buy this. Here's why, and I have the money for it." It generally shortens the conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
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 So that would be a good tip to pass on to those younger folks that are listening today of and again, I've got so my wife and I have 4 nieces and 2 nephews, and they're all
Mhm.
either out of college or finishing up college right now. And I told every one of them before they went to college, "You do 2 things. You take care of your grades, take care of your money, and your parents will have almost no reason to jump into your life."
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
kinda nice growing up. So what was
Unless
the
you want them to, but that's
yeah.
correct.
Yeah, you're welcome to bring them into your life, but if you don't want them in, you just don't wanna ask about your grades and your money, what else as parents, we're just asking if you're, do you have the right classes? Do you enjoy the teacher? Are
Correct.
you doing extracurricular stuff? And we don't have many things to ask about, so, yeah. So,
Yeah,
I always
I
appreciate
agree.
that. Alright, so growing a book of business is kind of the focus of when we have guests on to talk about to understand that. You are at First Citizens Bank now, but you were with another bank in Greenville, correct? Before you moved to First Citizens?
Yes.
Okay. When you joined, and that was your first time at a bank, you were a teller, you had other jobs at the bank.
Mhm.
All right. So when you first started to grow your book of business, what role were you in and what were the expectations? Kind of what was the first few weeks like on how you started that?
So I think it was a little different because I went into left the teller line really, and this is more so an unconventional way, but I came off the teller line into managing a branch. At that time, the bank that I was with was transitioning from having a branch operations manager to just a true branch manager that would, start lending money and becoming a loan officer. So I had initially started out thinking that I was going to have a nice, transition that I can apply all of these different skills that I've learned, and gradually, kind of grow into that loan officer role. And it wasn't any time at all until I was in, and I thought, wow, okay, I'm really tasked with growing the brand, lending money and developing those relationships. And so it was certainly uncomfortable, to say the least, to really start with that.
Were you, because usually when most people start a book of business, they will start cold calling, networking events, things like that. What did you kind of start doing in the early days?
So I had, when I started out, I had a wonderful mentor that really brought me in on a lot of the business that they were doing. Just, grab a notebook, sit down, listen to, the conversations, how we're doing things. And then from there, it was, okay, how can I recreate that? How can I duplicate, that experience or that situation? What industry were they in? Okay, let me go learn about that industry. Who do we have in the area? And connect the dots to, help other individuals in those similar situations. Because I literally had just come out of an office learning and hearing about that. So it was working with internal partners and trying to then take that and connect it out into the community.
And you are from a small town in Pennsylvania, and you moved to the coast for a little while, then you moved to Greenville. So you've not have you lived in a thriving metropolis yet?
Unless you consider Amish country thriving metropolis, no. Um, Not quite. However, in Pennsylvania, I was closer to much larger areas,
Yeah.
but that was not as a young professional. And so, really, a lot of my professional was being out on the coast, which looks very different. And then here in Pitt County, in Greenville, Winterville area.
Well, as I was doing my research on you, when I was reading on that because I knew you'd come from a small town,
Mhm.
and then you get to Greenville. My sense is coming from a small town, you built relationships because you guys had to rely on each other. You kind of knew everybody, so you were already probably pretty gifted at that, almost without even trying.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a certain level of, even local competition, right? What can I do? Where's my cheese, so to speak? Where's what we're focusing on as a company, myself personally and professionally. What am I not able to do? Uh, but who else can do that? And so
Mm.
I still maintain relationships with folks from the bank that I first started out with to say, hey, I've got a question. Is this something that you guys would work with? And so I think a lot of times we kind of miss out on that, really kind of relying to other folks in our industry. But yeah, ultimately, nobody can do it alone. Everybody's got to have somebody that they're going to and asking, and just whether it's generating ideas, or talking about business.
And I would imagine in your world, especially on the business side of this, these are could be several conversations until you get to the point of what they need, not what they ask for, because sometimes what they ask for, they don't need all of it yet, versus what you can set them up in. So you probably get to know those folks really well during those conversations.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a challenge to that. Not everybody, I call it 21 questions, let's just play a game of that real quick, make sure we're all on the same page. But not everybody's open to that. Rightfully so. And so it
Mm.
takes several conversations really to get to the point of truly having a holistic conversation. Um, you know, overcoming, you've got the individual that maybe you were introduced to or uncovered and met on your own, just out in the community, and there's a level of trust that needs to be built, and that takes time.
So when did you know? So how many different banks have you worked for now?
Two, three, if you consider a merger,
Okay.
acquisition, but left one to come to another.
Okay. So when did you kind of know that this banking world was for you and you kind of enjoyed it and you started seeing some results?
When I realized that my day was never going to be the same.
Oh,
So growing up, when what do you want to be when you grow up, and why, and what does this look like? Um, I never really knew what that was, but I knew that a stack of papers just repetitively doing the same thing, or you
mhm.
think like an assembly line, that was the worst to me. And I thought, okay, how can I avoid that at all costs? I don't want to do the same thing. I don't, want to be so robotic. And banking is just so incredibly different every day. I could come in and have the same request, um, every single day, but it's always going to be different because the person's different, their financial situation's different, and so it really keeps you on my toes. It really is enjoyable.
Well, that's okay. So now I have to amend my next question based on your answer. So there is no normal week, which is good, but
Hmm.
there's in an average week, let's just say that with no emergencies, no
Sure.
stock
No
market
fires.
going nuts, things like that. What does a normal week look like for you as you try to develop and or grow those relationships?
Yeah. So a normal week for me looks like making sure that I'm out in the community and going to the events that the chamber's putting on or that our chapter is putting on. And from there, it's getting situated with, okay, who are the clients that I'm currently working with? What do they have coming up? Where are we in the process of whatever project, that we're working on? And it's a ton of time management, to really make sure that those existing clients, I'm doing what I need to stay on track, keep them updated and informed, but then also not miss out on the opportunities of being in the community, having conversations, and just passing information back and forth,
To
outside of also reports and
yeah.
personnel management and all of those fun things.
to go find new clients. So when you do all these things, it's a combination of strengthening relationships and hopefully meeting new clients.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. There's a balance. I would not be as successful as I am if I said, okay, I'm just gonna, drive new business and,
Mhm.
prospect and, acquire all of these new relationships because ultimately, um, there's no relationship there. So, you've got to continually bring new business in.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's number one. But a very close second is maintaining the level of service with the folks that you have, right? And just owning up, showing up when you say you're going to show up, being available, making those calls back, and really just providing the transparent information and do all of the really small tasks with a smile on your face. It really goes a long way.
It took me a while in the business world because I was in the corporate world for a long time in different roles where I didn't have to grow a book of business. But once I got into situations where I had to, it took me a while to figure out that a lot of times you are a transaction, but you can turn that into an experience. And a
Yeah.
lot of people, and I got, again, I'm glad you had good mentors. I've had wonderful bosses, and I was working at Daytona International Speedway for a while, and we'd have Monday meetings, either during the NASCAR season or not. And the
Mhm.
president of the track, we'd always go to, all right, how many tickets have we sold? Either hospitality, race tickets, anything like that. We talked through that. And he would every week preach to us. It is so much easier and cheaper to keep a client than go find a new one.
Mhm.
So, what kind of things do you do once you have a client just to stay in touch with them?
Yeah. Periodically drop by, say hello,
Mhm.
call them, check in. How are things going? What do you need? Nothing. What do you need? Really just maintaining that consistent exposure because people don't need something every day. Um, but when they do need something, who is it that they're going to think of? And so I just try to, quick touches on the phone. When I'm in the branch, I'm in my office. If I, hear voices or see folks that I work with regularly, I'm jumping out. We're going to have some quick, small talk banter and just check in. How are things? When you really build relationships, you get figured out, what the kids are doing, what the wife's doing. And I tell one of my clients that they have such a lifetime movie type story with their life. And so I tell them all the time, when Lifetime finally gets you this movie, don't forget that you've had a banker
Mhm.
that has been with you, throughout these steps. Don't forget your banker's role in that. Um, but it really is. I wish I could say I email them once a week or I, call them once a month or something like that. But it depends on each client. And
Mhm.
the biggest thing is just staying consistent.
Yeah, and it's those little things like you mentioned with just family member names. And so I've
Mhm.
gotten now, there's, with most people, there's a lot of numbers in your phone. And my focus now being in the grandparent club, which by the way, greatest club ever. Do your folks and in-laws live near you in Greenville to be babysitters?
Not in Greenville,
Okay.
but if you're in ENC, a 45-minute hour drive is really not all that long.
Okay.
So it's not too bad.
So we want you to call upon us to babysit. So I hope you take full advantage of
Yes,
your free babysitting.
yes.
So anyways, back to my point of the phone is I can't always keep everybody's kids' names in there, but all
Mhm.
of my friends that are grandparents, I got their newest grandkid's name next to their name. So when I
Mhm.
call them, "Oh, how's Anthony doing? Give me a good story." So, but it's those little things that we can't assume that all of our competitors are doing that exact same thing, and most of them probably aren't, are they?
Yeah, and it comes from really when I think of that, like I have clients who will come in and it's when you say a lot of it starts out as transactional. There's some clients who that you know all that it sometimes ever really is, right? You don't have all of these big wonderful relationships that are turn in business every month. But a lot of them become just transactional for a period of
Mhm.
time. And so there's folks that will come in and I won't see them for a little while, and they'll, or I've even from the old bank, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I remember you grew up in Lancaster County, and how was and they would just rattle these things off, and it's really neat to hear that. And so it's just natural, I think, when you receive that, to give that back as
Mhm.
well, and that comes from asking good questions, and truly caring about what it is that they have going on. Right? It's I don't have this mental checklist in my head where I'm like, okay, do they need this? No, okay, move on to this. Try to ask a question for that. It just comes in genuine conversation, and I'm just here to help.
Yeah, just get a feel for what they're looking at or needing these days, and
Mhm.
versus here are the products I have, Mike. Pick one. It's like no,
Correct.
that's not going to work. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
now in your world, without asking numbers, I'm assuming everybody's got a number to hit monthly, quarterly, annually, all that good stuff. Sometimes that doesn't drive people. That puts a lot of pressure on them. How does that motivate you, and do you like that?
Yeah, I think there's a time and place for it. And when you get into routines and you have all of the right behaviors, everybody's going to feel pressure.
Mm.
Everybody's going to feel stress to, um, get this number or close this deal or, open this account that you've been working on for a while and, reach this goal. And it comes and goes. You've got to really know your community and understand when those slower times are, and how you manage your way through that. So, yeah, I think I've been doing it long. I'm not really answering your question, and I apologize, but I think I've been doing it long enough that it just comes along with it.
Mm.
And when you truly are just taking all the right steps and behaviors, it all falls into place. There's stressful months here and there, but eventually things start to line up and click. And it's almost like that snowball effect.
No, I'm with you. No, you did answer the question because a lot of people, especially early on in business, like, I have to sell something this week or I'm going to be in trouble, can't pay the rent, whatever. And then you start looking at things not the way you should, which is
Correct.
I'm not growing the relationship. I'm just selling them something because I have to sell something this week. And
Yeah.
that can get stressful.
Yeah. I don't, my boss probably would not like to hear me say this, but I'm not going in every day and looking at all of these reports and, where am I here and where am I there? Some people do every day and they thrive in that.
Mm.
I just don't do it as consistently as that because I know what I've got going on, what's coming in, and where things are, typically going to settle. And it just works better for me that way.
Now, are you the type to understand what the bank's goals for Hillary are and then what Hillary's goals for Hillary are?
Yeah. I think that so the bank goals for me are just a big giant umbrella. And then it's up
Mm.
to me to figure out how do I want to do this? How do I incorporate my team at the brand? Really identifying strengths and weaknesses. What am I really good at? What do I like to do? What am I not so good at? And what can I pass off? So yeah, I think that's really the best part about it.
If you're writing a book on how to grow a book of business, what will be the best chapter in your book of something that you do very well and are happy to share that with people?
Really, to what I do really well is the initial consult when I'm meeting someone,
Mm.
to really sit down and get figured out, okay, this is what you have going on, like super common right now. Everybody has, racked up credit cards, and now how do we restructure that? That could be a 5-minute conversation, and we could be on and out the door. I can help, right? On to the next. But there's a lot more that can go into that. And I'm not necessarily just interested, like you had mentioned before, being an order taker. We don't know what we don't know. And so I am really good at asking the why behind some things. Is this behavior or pattern? Was this a one off event? How does this affect, the next steps. And so really uncovering all of that, folks get up and leave and they say, I really appreciate that. I didn't consider this or that, or it makes, total sense now why this happened. And now we might have to, shift or pivot our thought. Um, had we had not come in and talked to you and you asked, those questions, we would have never thought of that. And so I think that would be my favorite chapter.
And why is such a powerful question, because at some point in time, we all need to defend what we're doing or what we think we need to do. And sometimes another set of eyes and ears is like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And then I always think when you get to that point, that's when the relationship is starting. When they
Yeah.
hear that from you and they think, oh, you know what? Well, if I did blue instead of red, oh, that would work better. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So when did BNI come into the picture for you and your book of business?
Well, BNI for me came into play when the banker that held the seat at First Citizens took a different role, and she was not going to be customer facing anymore. And I had subbed in for her a couple of times, and so I had already, kind of known the group. I understood, the lay of the land. I enjoyed going, and so she said, "Hey, I'm moving on to my next venture." And so I assumed her role with BNI. And that's really how a couple of years ago got started with that and just, been there every Wednesday morning since.
So I can assume if you were offered a job somewhere that's not involved in the community and you were always stuck in an office running meetings, you might not want to take that job.
I've thought of that and I was like, man, if I did anything different, I would not like I would lose all of that.
Yep.
Um, but it's I'm a huge advocate for BNI because it does work. But more than that, um, we have an agenda. We have, these things that we are very specific that we do. And networking is not very comfortable for everybody, especially
Yeah.
if you were just starting out. I have my fair share of awkward stories that we don't have time to talk about on this show. But BNI is so different because it gives you the mic to stand up and practice and ask for business and fine tune your messages and presenting in front of the
Mm.
public. And so it's really neat to see that. Um, you don't always get that.
Mm.
So that's it, it works and it's really good.
I'm with you. You learn a lot of things, not only building relationships, but it helps you learn little things like in your job how to do something a little bit better. And I'm with you. The elevator pitch, I've told people from day one, everything starts there. Because if I can't tell you how to help me, you're going to move on to the next person who told you how to help them, and you're going to do that.
Right.
So I agree with you on that.
Mhm.
So back in the day, the first business transaction you concluded, do you remember, not asking names or numbers, do you remember going through that, and how terrified and how satisfied were you at the beginning and or the end?
Yeah. So I will say, so back up when I had said that I, had a really good, strong mentor, and they
Mm.
kind of brought me in the room and let me listen to all of those conversations and whatnot. Um, the client in that very first meeting that I ever sat down with, because the request was so complex, I didn't actually get a chance to do it. However, I still have that client to this day, and I've been in banking for about 13 years now, I want
Nice.
to say. And so I'm the first person that person thinks of and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about this. You know, yay or nay, or what will it look like? Is there opportunity?" Um, and he's said, you're going to give me honest feedback. If it's not a good deal, if there's something better, you're going to share that with me, and that is what keeps me coming back. So I often think of that, although I didn't actually do the deal. I was very much so a part of managing it and maintaining that, and that individual and his family. Matter of fact, I just saw him this month. So that's really near and dear to my heart.
Well, that was my follow-up question is, what does he remember most from that? And you answered it, was you just kinda gave him the honest truth.
Yeah, I didn't. Everybody when you're working with the public or you're in a sales role, everybody is, well, what's the magic thing to say?
Mhm.
And you can see all over social media, you know,
Yeah,
don't say this, say
yeah,
that, or you're killing your deal with doing this. And in a general sense, you just need to say what you need to say.
yeah.
And so, he'll call me quick or send me an email and I'll say, hey, this is what I can do. This is what I've got. Have you checked? It's really common when I think about if you're going to buy a brand new vehicle. I can't compete with brand new, dealer rebates and incentives and 0% financing for X whatever. I just can't, and there's no way to make that pretty. You
Mm.
say that, and you say, "Hey, have you checked over here?" And they come back the next time, and then there is something else that you are able to win, and it just goes from there.
Well, and I like what you do there on the example on the cars because you did not waste their time.
Mm-mm.
You just said, "Not my wheelhouse," or, "We don't really do that," but along your way of searching for that car, think about this.
Mhm.
And you're right, that's it, they may use that, but they'll remember that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I'm with you on that because yeah, I love these magic pills. How did you get successful? Well, if you talk to most people, they showed up every day and they worked their butt off every day.
Mhm.
Now, my brother, who's owned a number of small businesses, he's taught me many things, and one is just go to the office every day looking to hit it, the baseball analogy, just looking to hit a single. Don't swing for the home run, it'll come. But if
Yeah.
you keep hitting singles, they'll kind of turn into doubles, then maybe a triple, then the home run will show up. But man, if you show up every day, I'm gonna start knocking on doors of businesses that uh, have revenue of over $25 million on day one. That's probably not the best place to start. So, but yeah, just
No.
showing up
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Nickels and dimes still spent.
yep.
And just the basics are basics for a reason. It builds a foundation. And really that provides your confidence
Yep.
and your motivation to just continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I enjoy good song lyrics, and, Bruno Mars, who I'm a big fan of, got a great line in his song, I forget the name of the song 'cause can't remember the name of the song, but his line is, "If
Sing it
I'm"
for us.
Do what?
I said you can sing it for us.
Yeah, that won't go well, everybody will log off, yeah, but I appreciate the confidence. He said, "If Imma show up, Imma show out."
There you go.
So, if I'm coming to work, I'm gonna make it work, so yeah, anyways, I'll think in about an hour, I'm gonna think of the song and it will mean nothing to anybody, but it's one of his biggest hits. So, anyways,
Yeah.
so one of the questions I like to have ask my guests on the show that are married. So your husband's name is Corey.
Mhm.
So, how did you two meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
I probably don't let him tell his story. I don't know. So probably not, or his story is my story. We met on Match.com. We met online,
All right.
and yeah, and I was tired of the same old scenes. To be
Mhm.
very honest, they don't ever work out so great. And so yeah, I had a coupon back in the day. I mean, trial run 7 days, and I was like, hey, I'm on my seventh day. And so we met up, we had dinner. We've been together ever since.
So, where was the first date?
The first date was going to be at Cubby's, um, and they were actually closed. And he had a little sports car at the time, and so he was trying to be cool and kind of post into the spot. But then whatever happened with his car at that time, then he couldn't start it because if he drifted in, I don't know. And so thankfully, I didn't notice that. And then we just hopped across the street to Carolina Ale House, and I was so nervous that I turned the wrong way. And he thought, okay, I guess she didn't like me because that's not the direction of the restaurant. So then I was all embarrassed, had to drive around the block, and then we finally met up.
So, when
So
did
he
you?
stalled his car. I went the wrong way.
Nice.
The restaurant was closed, but somehow here
Yep.
we are still together.
It was destined to happen, right? So when did you know things were like, "Ooh, I think there's something here"?
Probably when I realized after about a year that we had like spent every day together since, and it was just seemingly just another day, and we just kind of his life blended into mine, and that's just really how it became. We were really never apart.
Good. Yeah, so I'm gonna need to hear I'm gonna need one day to hear the way he tells his story because you have piqued my interest on that. All right,
Might be a little different, yes.
as it should be. My wife and I tell the same story, different as well. We're both at the same place, but I tell it better
That's right.
because I I tell it better. But
That's right.
so you have 2 daughters. Are we in the money teaching mode with them as well?
Yeah. So I actually, we were talking about there's a used bookstore here in town that I love going to. They give you credit for books that you turn in, and then you can get new books. And so I will take my youngest daughter. One, it helps her get rid of some of all of the books in her room and all of those items, and then turn them into cash value, to then turn around and say, okay, now because we were done with this and we turned around and sold these back to the bookstore, now you got paid, and you can go get how many other books that you would like. So she really gets a kick out of doing that.
Good. Yeah, she sounds like my granddaughter Maggie. She could read 10 books a day. She just
Hmm.
and they a lot of times she'll sit there and make you read the same book 3 times, and we're good with that, so I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Alright, so you're from as it's been explained to me, you are from Amish country in Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
I need a story about what that's like, Hillary, because I have no idea what that is like.
So the best way really is, depending on which way the wind's blowing, you are either smelling manure or chocolate. So you
Ooh,
wake up and it's either sweetest place on earth or it's dairy farms. Um, it's really just rolling hills of cornfields and kids on roller skates, rolling behind the Amish buggies. A lot of really good food. A lot of really just good history and parks, and if you like being outdoors, it's really a great place to be. And um, I took that for granted, I think, probably as a kid. Just a lot of really cool stories come from that. Living so close to 3 Mile Island, and just all of those fun things. But yeah, so you're either smelling manure, Mike, or chocolate, and that's really all it's about.
now we have all these stereotypes of the Amish world, which I'm thinking maybe 2% are correct. Uh, Technology, power, electricity, we assume everybody rides a horse and buggy and you grow your own food and you eat it, and I know that's not right. So, how close are the movies to, uh, showing us what Amish life is like?
There's now, and mind you, I've been in North Carolina for many years now. But when I was growing up, I mean, there it was. I mean, you would have you'd see the one, the little schoolhouse, and the kids would be rollerblading. They'd have their lunch pails. There were no cars. They did not have electricity. It was very much so what you were describing.
Mm.
But then there are some Amish folks that will ride in a vehicle. They won't drive the vehicle, it won't be theirs, but they will, ride in the vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Some are okay being photographed, others, just like the history books say, are not. And so it's it was really neat. Just you just kind of coexist with them,
Mm,
really. And maybe it's hard for me to describe because it was just so normal for me,
mm.
perhaps. But yeah, there's varying levels of them, but it's pretty much what you see is what you get.
Interesting, okay, and can I assume it snowed a lot up there?
Yes.
Okay.
I
So
loved it as a kid, but I am
yeah.
so glad I don't have to deal with that as an adult.
I hear that. I didn't need to ask that question anymore because I've learned people that move from the South that they've been here more than about 6 years. They're like, it's usually
Yes.
the snow.
Yes.
So I always like to ask my friends from the North, how many times did you jump off the roof into a snowbank?
I didn't because I was a big giant scaredy cat, but my sister did. She did. And I remember opening doors in our basement and it was just a wall of snow.
Mm.
So we'd quick shut the door and, mom would go out and start shoveling things out. But yeah, me, 0. My sister, 1.
Hopefully she never hurt herself badly.
No, she
Oh,
was good. We have pictures of it somewhere.
okay. And how big were these snowdrifts that they were jumping into?
I
Taller
mean,
than
they went up over the doors. I mean, they were
okay.
halfway up to the house, and
Wow.
so I remember blizzard of '96 is one that I remember because I felt like we were never going back to school. So that was pretty neat.
How much snow are we talking about?
I mean, that was probably like to me, it felt like 3 foot probably,
Mm.
back then. But um, I don't know, 9, 12 inches maybe.
All right.
But depending on how the wind's blowing and where you're at,
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a huge difference when the clouds start going through, pushing everything together. So it just depends on where you are.
All right. All right. So you don't miss the snow and you've learned to love the beach, right? No. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're not going to lose you anytime soon to the
No,
north. Okay. Good.
no,
Good for the state of North Carolina.
that's right.
All right. So for somebody listening or watching and they want to go into banking, what's a couple things they need to be ready to, not prepared to do, but what kind of skill sets would they need to have if they feel like it's a good match with the banking world?
Yeah. Being able to talk to people, working with the public, really having a strong work ethic and critical thinking. Really
Oh,
having the ability to think outside the box, understand how banking works, and then how we can connect it to people's lives. So, really, just being able to talk to people, build a rapport, and then think outside the box and really understand how it works.
so I can draw the conclusion that you enjoy puzzles
Yes.
and you enjoy the whodunit cold case shows.
So, Clue is my favorite game. I love some Colonel Mustard in the library with the rope. We were just playing that a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. I want a challenge. I want to get figured out why this isn't working and what I can do differently. And then those aha moments once everything fits.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Usually when I talk to people and if like that, they generally enjoy puzzles.
Mhm.
Because it's yeah, that's what you're putting together when a client comes to you with nothing yet but a dream or a hope of buying this or renting that or whatever. There's a lot of pieces you need to put together.
Yeah, I am a firm believer on leave the client with an option. If we
Mm.
can't do what they've come in for or what they are thinking that they need or want, give them an option. Listen, I can't do that, but I can do this, which ultimately gets us either where you want it to be or pretty darn close. And sometimes it's, hey, there's nothing we can do right now, but here's the plan that we can build. Here are the steps that we can put into place. So always, always, always leave them with an option.
All right, so every week on every show, I write down something to remember the show by. I love the line, leave a client with an option. I like that
Nobody
because
likes to feel stuck.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes they come to you, it's not for today. I'm planning
Right.
on September.
Mhm.
And now you got options on things
Mhm.
like that. So that and not jumping off the roof into a snowbank. I thought you were game. I thought you would be ready to take on that challenge, but no.
Yeah, no, I'm a big giant scaredy cat.
Yep. Some risk you're willing to take, but that wasn't one of them, right?
No, no, it certainly was not. No, and probably because I didn't want to get snow in my boots because it takes a lot to get everything on.
Ah,
You don't want snow in your gloves or your boots. And if you just spent 30 minutes being stuffed into all the gear, I'm not screwing that up.
nice. All right, folks, we've been putting Hillary's phone number on the screen here. If you're in the Greenville area or if you're somewhere else and you need a good banker to see what your options are, please give her a call. She will talk to you. I know that for a fact, but you need somebody who knows what they're doing and they're willing to listen to you to figure out what you want to accomplish versus here are our 3 products that we can sell you. Go ahead and pick one. So Hilary, enjoyed having you on the show. Congratulations to your chapter success as well. Folks, between both regions, the Triangle region and the Coastal region, I think we could probably say her chapter is the best right now.
Thank you.
So,
I would say that as well.
yep,
Thank you.
but you guys are working hard. So anyways, Hilary, we enjoyed having you on your show. Thank you very much. And we will see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.